Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is time again for What the Hell Happened in OCR this month for February 2026. There are 6 main topics that I wanted to touch on this month, and the first and biggest one is going to be the race that went down just last weekend out in Jacksonville, Florida, where the first Spartan National Series race happened. I was out there, and it was overall like a fantastic weekend. I went down from Pennsylvania, so to get some of that Florida sunlight was great. Saturday was a little bit chilly. Sunday was great. Probably picked up a little bit of sunburn, but I'm okay with that. The winter here has been pretty rough, but it was really cool hanging out with some people out there a few people who I already knew, and then a few others who I've like talked with here and there on Instagram through messaging, and finally got to meet like in person. So it was great. It was a great weekend. But I do have I want to say like 3 positives and 2 negatives about that weekend that I want to get into. So let's just go ahead and start with that. All right, to kick it off with the few positives that I saw from the Spartan Race Jacksonville event. First off, just day one, Saturday morning, the race director, I think his name was Richie, he was out there and he did like a little briefing beforehand with all the elite men and women who were about to go out there. And I was impressed. He did a great job, and he was kind of putting out there that some rules and some changes that I don't think we exactly saw last year. One was they put cameras out at the spear throw. And he said that, we've got some good volunteers at the spear throw, and we've got cameras out there, and we will be monitoring that and checking that and making sure that if the spear was failed, all 30 burpees are being done and that they're being done like well. He said, none of this like just halfway jump up type stuff that some people tend to do, getting a little bit lazy with it. He's like, I want to see a good burpee and I want to see 30 of them. And if you don't get that, you're going to get a penalty or something. On top of that, what was different about this race, we don't see this too often, but they had the big, like the thick black ropes at the end of multi-rig. And he made it very clear that you had to grip the actual rope itself, either the part that has like the black tape around it or the rope itself, but the actual line that it connects to above cannot grab onto that. In the past, that's been a lot of there's been some controversy with that because people will just grasp that, and some people think it's cheating, but like it's not real clear if it's cheating or not because I guess the rule book doesn't make it very clear, and the race directors in the past haven't really said much about it. So it was cool to see from those two standpoints of the spear throw and then the black ropes. Like Richie made it very clear on what the rules were, and that was a positive to see. And then another positive when it comes to like the elite level guys and girls out there, as soon as like the first few people came through and finished that super on Saturday morning, it was like 5 or 10 minutes later, and Spartan's Instagram page had like social posts up about like who the first place winners were in it. And I've never seen it come out like that quickly. Like a picture of the person. We had Brent and Cassandra, and it was just a post of like their time, a picture of them, and it's like, congrats, like Spartan National Series race, first place winner. That was impressive. And then, I don't know, a day or two later, they had a few more posts that came out for like the top 5, I believe. But I don't think we've seen that in the past where like they're that quick and on top of it to like highlight who the winners were. So that was a big positive. And then for one, there's just like general racing related. There's like some changes, a little bit of changes to obstacles, some adjustments, and then some new stuff. So that's cool to see because over the last like 4 or 5 years, there's been a lot of talk of, hey, let's see some obstacle innovation. Let's see some new stuff out there. Some of these obstacles are getting boring, kind of tame. There's no real changes coming. So we saw some new stuff. So we had some like variations that we saw. One being like the sandbag to throw it on the sled pull thing and then do the sled pull, grab sandbag and finish it off. Another variation that we saw, just combining the obstacles that we're familiar with, was barbed wire crawl to a short Olympus to another barbed wire crawl. Just switching things up a little bit, which, hey, like it's better than the same old stuff we've been used to for the past 4 or 5 years. And then chain carry. We like saw this a little bit last year. I think they brought them to like West Virginia for that trifecta world championship. And then we might have saw it like once or twice later in the year, but it's not been very common for us in the US at all. So to have the chain carry there was pretty cool. Kind of a new obstacle. Oh, and the black ropes that I had just mentioned like a minute ago, that was there too on the multi-rig. And they've been around, but like we just don't see those black ropes too often. Then another new obstacle that we saw out there was, I think this is something from like Tough Mudder. I believe they call it Devil's Beard. And it's just like a giant cargo net rope type thing that's just like, kind of heavy, laying on the ground, and you have to just pick it up and kind of maneuver yourself through it. I went through that on Saturday because it was in the super race, and it was a pain. I've never done an obstacle like that before, and I just kept my hand would get stuck, and then my foot would get stuck back and forth, and it definitely slows you down, and you have to go through it like, you have to figure out an efficient way to go through it, or it can really screw up a few seconds here and there. They had like a cool like skull head of like a cow or something like that right in the middle of it, and people were getting stuck on that too. But a fresh new obstacle, why not throw it in there? So good for them. As for the negatives, I've got two of them, and I guess the first one, it kind of depends on if you like to have a beer at the end of the race or not. Do you guys remember like all of these? I've got so many of these. This was like years ago. They would hand out these little bands, free drinks. Anyway, I brought these down with me because I wasn't sure what they were going to accept. I've also got like these free drink cards, right? I think I got a few of these last year. I don't know what they're using now, and I just brought like a bunch down because I wanted to have a few drinks on Saturday after the race, right? Get down there, they give me the little bands or whatever. I didn't think much of it. I put it in my bag. Race ended. I go up to the like beer tent and I pull out my band and I'm like, I'd like to get my free beer. And they're like, we're not doing that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Apparently this band that they gave me just says of legal drinking age. So it's not a free beer ticket band. It's just, hey, you're at least 21 and you can buy beer for $8 or $9 a can or whatever it was. And that was pretty disappointing because, what a free drink at the end of the race has been around since the inception of Spartan racing, I believe. I also have a whole bunch of these things and I want to use them, I don't know if that was like specifically just to Jacksonville or if it's happening at every single race this year. If you've been to a couple others earlier this year, like Arizona or California, let me know, like, was there a free beer at the end, or was it the same thing where they're just giving you this like of legal drinking age and you've got to buy your own? That was a big negative. And then as for the elite men and women's side of things, a huge negative that came out was, I don't know how long this has been going on, but I know at least last year, if you're running elite and you make podium first, second, or third, one thing that they were offering was like a free race entry. And they would either give it to you like on the spot, or they give you an email or something, and they'd send you a free entry code. And people got used to that and took advantage of it, and then used the code for another race, or gave it to a friend, or sold it to somebody. It was a nice perk to, like, hey, congrats on making the podium for this event. Here's a free race ticket. So that was expected, and people were out there over the weekend trying to get a hold of, like, hey, how do I get this free race ticket? And from what I saw and heard was that, hey, let's get your email address. We'll send you information on that. And it was like, then everybody kind of left for the weekend. And then come like Monday, Tuesday, there's some information going around about, we're not doing that this year. So it's completely gone. And, what does that cost Spartan Race? It really doesn't cost them anything to give one of those out. It's just a free event. They're not spending actual money to do that, and it's a nice perk. So it's surprising that they would just up and give up on that. All right, another thing I wanted to touch on for this month has to do with prize money. There was a lot of posts that came out in February regarding prize money. So I'll show some of these. You can see how we have US and Canada, and then some of the other international like series races they're putting money out there for. I'm still not 100% clear on like what they mean by offering 10 grand for the series races. What makes sense is 10 grand per series race, but it's just like hard to believe that last year they're pushing out 10 grand for the whole, U.S. country of the national series race. And now they break it up into 3 in the U.S. and then the Canada national series. And they're trying to push out 10 per series. So like 40 grand total. That's a big jump on top of doing stupid things like not even offering a free race entry when you get a podium right now. Regional series, we're also paying 3 deep, it looks like. But one cool thing that people have requested a bunch in the past is to pay deeper than 3. And they are doing that in some of these world championships. You can see like the ultra, the trifecta, the sprint. They're showing like total prize pools right here, and then paying 5 deep. So that's cool to see. And that excites some people, and it might get like more of a competitive field out there. So, I guess the Beast World Championship is probably your biggest moneymaker. Look at that. A bunch of these are like 7 grand for first. Out at the Beast World Championship, looking at 18 grand for first. You got a pretty big prize pool out there. The other company that is putting out some prize pool money posts and information is OCRCWC. I think I'm calling that like OCRC squared. I kind of like that. But they've got Pro Division, the 80 meter, 3K, 15K, and team relay. Prize money for, this is all in like Australian AUD, Australian dollars, I guess. But I looked up the conversion. Your 3K, 3 grand AUD is like 2,100 US. And then if you're going for the 15K and you get first, that 5 grand is actually worth like 3,500 for the US. So if you're, in US dollars and you look at that, it's not quite as good as it looks on paper, but it's still something. And if you're going out there, push for it. All right, something else I wanted to mention. This came out 2 weeks ago, so about the middle of February. There was a YouTube video that Eldon Palmer came out with. He had an editor and created this like video that is, 42 minutes long, it looks like. I watched the whole thing a couple times, and he really tried to push this out there, and it's pretty good. Like, it's well done. We, in the OCR scene, we don't get too much amazing YouTube and video footage anymore. It's been pretty weak since the days of, actual money being thrown by Spartan into some of this coverage. But it was a pretty cool, they call it a Spartan story of grit, loss, and redemption. It kind of follows like some of the age group guys and how they view Spartan race and how it's a big part of their lives and what it's done for them. And then it goes into, just some of the everyday people who are out there on course just doing open waves and having fun with friends, and how much of an impact it's had on their lives. So if you haven't checked it out yet, give it a watch. Going through like 65 comments through here, and super positive. Lots of people really enjoying this video and what it shares about, the Spartan race course and product, and then a big part on just the community, which is a huge aspect of why people keep going back. All right, number 5. All right, number 5, guys. I put this out there as like a little bit of just like, hey, this is kind of funny, on an Instagram story a couple weeks ago. I bet this wasn't on anyone's bucket list, but Anthony Kunkel going to a whole bunch of races this year, just out of nowhere. He's dabbled in obstacle course racing a little bit in the past, but we've never really seen him as like, an OCR athlete. And then here it is, and we're only 2 months into the year. And scratch this, we're no longer at 4 podiums. He's at 5 now. Just last weekend, he went to Tough Mudder Infinity in Austin, the 8-hour event, and came up with first place. So 5 podiums, a few firsts and a couple thirds, I believe. But yeah, we'll see what happens for the rest of the year. But like, as of right now, it's like, hey, he's the OCR Athlete of the Year. So good for him, and hopefully we see him at some more courses and some more competitive fields, and see what he can actually do on course. All right, and then lastly, just what's coming up in March. We've got a bunch of like series championship races, it looks like. What do we got? A China National Series event is coming up, France National Series. And then in the U.S., we have Palm Beaches, which is that second stop in the U.S. South National Series. So we'll probably see some of those similar guys that were just out there in Jacksonville racing, like Brent and maybe Nick Riker again, Paul Massey, Strobel, Cassandra, I'm sure. Some of those people. Santa Dominica. We also have an Adriatic Series event in late March. What else? The first Savage race of the year, the 1 of 3 out in Florida. It's happening this weekend, like right now. So take a look at that and talk about that for March as well. Besides that, I don't know. I don't know what's coming up in March. There's probably something. But that's all I've got for February, guys. Hit the like button. Throw some comments in about what you liked about this video, what you don't like, what you think I should do better. And I'll see you guys next month.